Right, we're from the Dundee Food Co-op. There's our wonderful banner that was produced by our resident stitching witch, Hazel. We're standing here in the city square, and there's a bonny Christmas lights and the no very bonny tree, and the sparkly ones along the back. And whilst once upon a time we would have all thought, oh, that's lovely and Christmas is coming, what these lights and what that tree represent for so many of our fellow citizens is a nightmare and terror. They don't know how they're going to feed their bairns beans on toast for Christmas dinner, let alone these wonderful turkeys and Peter Andre's fabulous desserts that keep getting shoved down our throat every night on television. They don't know how they're going to feed their children tomorrow morning. And I personally, and my colleagues in the food co-op, and I'm sure every one of you and most of the people in Dundee, find that to be a total obscenity. And that is the only word that can be applied. Now, it would be bad enough to be living in these circumstances if we actually believed that the country was on its knees and we all had to pull our belts in order to get back on our feet. But you see, I'm old enough and long enough in the tooth now to be a confirmed conspiracy theorist. This is not about economics. This is about a deliberate political ideology to put us back in our places. Put us back in our places as Scots, and put us back in our places as the undeserving poor, as they would call us. Now, there was a thing, an article in the new paper, The National, and I would exhort you all, if you can afford it, to buy that paper and support that paper, because it's the only one that's going to tell us the truth. But there was a little snippet saying that some eminent nutritionists and psychologists had done a study and found that poor nutrition restricts the IQ. Well, they could have saved themselves a lot of time and money and asked any woman walking up and down this high street, what happens if you don't feed a bairn? If you don't feed a bairn, its body doesn't grow healthy and its brain doesn't grow healthy. But if you want a nice passive population, the last thing you want is a well-fed population and well-fed children that can put 2 and 2 together and come up with 144, which is what anybody with an ounce of sense in this country nowadays would do. These people, the Osbornes and the Camerons and the red Tories that stood alongside them, and not only stood alongside the Tories, but stood alongside UKIP and the Orange Order to bring us to our knees. How disgusting to stand alongside these scum. They don't want us fed and thinking, because then we might say, we're not putting up with this. Now, I've been banging on about child nutrition for 30 odd years, professionally, personally and politically, and I will not stand back and watch these kids not getting a decent square meal in their stomach, not having a warm coat on their back. I will not tolerate it, and neither should any of you. And what the man that was speaking before me was saying was absolutely right. We've got to unite and fight back against the multinational corporations. We've got to fight back against Tesco. Has anybody gone to Tesco recently? No! Well, I was forced to go to Tesco during the week because it's the only place that I can buy oatcakes that don't have wheat in them, because I can't have wheat. And at the front door there was this great big cardboard sign: donate to the food banks and we'll match it by 30%. And if I had had a felt pen in my pocket, I would have written all over it, lower your bloody prices in the first place and we might not need food banks. Now, as I say, there's our banner. we're trying to open a food bank a food co-op in Dundee, and the food banks do what they can do, but at the end of the day it's crisis intervention, and crisis intervention isn't good enough in the long term. So what our plan is to try and open up a proper supermarket, not the size of Tesco and Asda, but certainly a little supermarket in Dundee where we will be a not-for-profit. All we can do is put a penny or tuppence on the goods to pay for our overheads, for our electricity. And great, good people in Dundee, people like Mike Short, who's giving us all his knowledge of the retail trade, Lynn Short, who is giving us the benefit of her knowledge of property, and other good people from other parts of Scotland that are prepared to give us all their knowledge and expertise to get this up and running, so that everybody in Dundee who has got a conscience, as well as the people who are stony broke, we can all shop ethically and decently and cut the profits of these supermarkets. And maybe if we're successful in Dundee, it'll spread out to Arbroath, and then up to Montrose, and then across to Glasgow. And before we know it, we've got a whole real cooperative movement going in Scotland, like we had when I was a wee girl and your mum had her SOSH number and got her divvy every quarter or whatever it was. The cooperative movement, like so many good things that were set up by the then Labour Party, has gone to the wall and is just part of the multinationals making obscene profits out of food. Yes, Jimmy? Oh, I have to shut up now. Okay, that's not easy for me because I could talk for the next 10 hours. But what I do want to say is we need all the help we can get. And people say, oh, I don't know what I could do. Well, people have ideas. And we need ideas. So we meet every Thursday night at 7 o'clock in the lounge of the Clip Bar. You will all be more than welcome to come along and stick in your 10 pence worth or your 1 pence worth. We want you there to help us. But I want another message to go out from this city square today. Make an old woman very, very happy and send a message out to the Labour Party in Dundee. Jim McGovern, we are coming to get you.